My campaign against drugs
Kayapaan sa mga pinaslang.
will not stop.
Duterte's administration's war on drugs has placed the Philippines at the center of a global human rights debate, and when the International Criminal Court reopened its investigation to the Philippines campaign, the adequacy of our domestic legal system is under scrutiny. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ellen D. Freneza,
I am Marin Ashley Katama.
And I am Giolina Jigaribay.
and today we will present our case study analysis of the International Criminal Court's role in the Philippines' war on drugs. We will have 5 parts to our presentation. For the starter is the introduction, where we'll be having to discuss the definition of the International Criminal Court itself, the overview of the case, the types of the globalization, and how globalization enabled the issue. Next would be the presentation of key problems and their explanations, the impact on our government, and lastly, the selection of the most critical problem. Then we will discuss our proposed solution to address the most critical issue, to be followed by the selection of the best alternative course of action, and the presentation of the recommended initiatives for its successful implementation. And to end our presentation, we'll be having the conclusion of our report. So let's begin.
Now, let us proceed to the introduction. First is, what is ICC? ICC was established in July 2002 after the adoption of the Rome Statute. The goal for this ICC was to establish a permanent and independent court to investigate and bring to justice individuals who commit the most heinous violations of international law and human rights. Bago pa tayo mag-proceed sa amin ng ICC, alamin po muna natin yung history natin. Noong 20th century, merong World War I at World War II. Maraming karahasan na nangyari, pero hindi lahat na may sala ay napanagod dito. Kaya noong 1995, gumawa ang United Nations ng isang komite na bubuo sa isang korte na tutuksa sa mga insidente nito. Kaya noong July 17, 1998, nagpulong-pulong ang mga state member ng UN na bumoto sa isang bansa na ito. Ito ang Rome Statute. 120 na state member ang bumoto dito, kasama na ang Pilipinas. Now, the International Criminal Court is a permanent and independent tribunal to prosecute individuals for the most serious offenses such as genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crimes of aggression. Naging part po pala tayo ng ICC noong November 1, 2011, and meron po tayo naging dalawang judge ng ICC, which Mariam Defensor Santiago noong 2012 to 2014 and Raul Pangalanan noong 2015 to 2021. And now, the purpose. The court is participating in a global fight to end impunity, and through international criminal justice, the court aims to hold those responsible accountable for their crimes and to help prevent these crimes from happening again. Now, yung ICC po is not only aims to hold individuals accountable for their serious crimes, it also seeks to end the impunity. Impunity meaning exemption from the punishment. The ICC targets the individuals in position of power who might otherwise be beyond na ng reach ng national justice system. The ICC aims to deter future crimes to discourage leaders from committing the cruel act. Now, how it works. The ICC investigates and where warranted tries individuals charged with the grievous crimes of concern to the international community, such as genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crimes of aggression. Ang ICC po natin hindi po panakipbutas ito sa ating korte, kundi kasi may sinusunod po itong batas na complementarity, which is the ICC only steps in kapag ang ating national courts are unwilling or unable to prosecute the crimes. The ICC po, if nakatanggap po sila ng reklamo or information sa isang bansa or state member ng Rome Statute, dito sila magkakandak po ng preliminary examination. Dito nila bubusiin kung mayroon pang nalabag na grievous crimes, which is genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crimes of aggression. If meron man sa apat na ito or isa na nalabag ng isang bansa, dito na magkakandak ng official investigation. If napagtibay at may ebidensya na kaalap ang ICC, dito sila magawarat ng arrest. Dito na, pag naawarat ng arrest ng isang individual, magkakandak ng ICC ng pre-trial. Sa pre-trial, dito kakandak or bubusisiin ng judge kung sapat ba ang ebidensya laban sa individual. Hindi magkakaroon ng pre-trial if hindi na-arrest ang suspect. Now, next slide is the introduction. Background of the study. Now, Duterte's war on drugs noong 2016 aimed to eradicate illegal drugs, resulting in widespread extrajudicial killings, particularly affecting marginalized communities. Noong presidency ni former President Rodrigo Duterte noong June 30, 2016, he launched a bloody drug war fulfilling his campaign promise. But there are dozens of reports saying that at least 8,663 people have been killed as a result. Dahil po dito, nagkaroon po ng ICC investigation noong 2018. The ICC authorized an investigation into alleged crimes against humanity related to the drug war, despite the Philippines' withdrawal from the Rome Statute. Noong February 8, 2018, the ICC prosecutor Fatu Bensouda announced the opening of the preliminary examination on the Philippine drug war. Then suddenly, the Philippine withdrawal from the ICC. Effective noong March 17, 2019, the ICC retains jurisdiction over crimes committed from November 2011 to March 2019. Noong March 16, 2018, the Philippines officially announced it was leaving the International Criminal Court. This decision was made po by President Rodrigo Duterte after the ICC started looking into possible crimes against humanity during the Philippine War on Drugs, which began on July 1, 2016. Then, the Philippine withdrawal from the International Criminal Court became effective noong March 17, 2019, almost 1 year bago po ito na-approve. Now, next is the jurisdiction and admissibility challenge. The Philippine government contests the ICC jurisdiction post-withdrawal, arguing that the national system can address cases, yet accountability for high-ranking officials remains questionable. Philippines argues that since it left the ICC can't investigate it anymore, but the ICC says that it can still look into crimes that happened while the Philippines were still a member, from November 1, 2011 to March 16, 2019. But still, the Philippines claim its own court can't handle the war on drug cases. The ICC only steps in if the national courts are unwilling or unable to prosecute the crimes. Pero meron pa rin mga concern about whether the Philippine court can fairly or effectively prosecute the high-ranking officials. Then, the ICC Appeals Chamber authorized resumption of the investigation. On July 26, 2023, the ICC approved resuming the investigation to the lack of domestic accountability efforts. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. opposed the ICC investigation, claiming it threatens the Philippine sovereignty and plans to appeal the ICC decision. Then, the update of the website sa ICC is noong July 18, 2023, the ICC Appeals Chamber confirmed that decision to allow the ICC prosecutor to resume investigation into alleged crimes in the Philippines. But there are two judges disagree, believing the ICC should not have jurisdiction since the withdrawal was effective before the investigation request. But majority found that the Philippines failed to prove it was conducting a relevant investigations, justifying the ICC decision to resume the investigation. And now we're currently aware that President Rodrigo Duterte, or former President Rodrigo Duterte, was in Senate hearing to discuss his administration war on illegal drugs. The ICC is monitoring to the proceedings. The next slide is the types of globalization and their impacts of the cases. First is political globalization. It refers to the growing influence of international legal norms and institutions over national sovereignty. The ICC established the global community commitment para makumbat ang impunity and also promote human rights through international cooperation. The international legal framework can impose obligations into states para lang ma-adhere ang human rights standards. Dahil dito, there is a political pressure sa Philippine government to address human rights violation more seriously. Technical globalization. Technical globalization is quickly spread information on human rights abuses in Philippines. News and social media highlight these issues worldwide, increasing the public and diplomatic pressure on the government to act, making it harder for the countries to hide from the accountability. The next slide is economic globalization. We all know that globalization increased the national economic to global market, such free flow of goods, services, capital, technology, and information. Now, in context of Philippines' war on drugs, economic globalization plays a crucial role para mga potential international trade, investment, and also tulong na rin. Many countries adhere to human rights standards. Countries that violate these standards may face economic repercussions or can affect the country economic, might lose foreign investments. Therefore, the international community's response to the Philippine drug war could significantly impact the ekonomiya as the investors at saka mga trading partners may reconsider their relationships to the country facing human rights abuses. The next is cultural globalization. The rise of global human rights advocacy created a cultural imperative for accountability and justice that make the Philippine government to adapt measures na naka-align sa international standards. Dahil nga may mga pag-increase ng mga extrajudicial killings sa Pilipinas, the public protest then, both domestic and international communities made it harder awareness of the human rights issues, pursuing a demand for accountability. The next slide will be discussed by Ms. Edeline.
So moving forward, how globalization enabled the issue. So the globalization has played a crucial role in the ICC's intervention in the Philippines' war on drugs by facilitating the rapid dissemination of information about alleged human rights violation. So sa pamamagitan ng international media, pati ng social networks, yung awareness of these abuses reach a global audience, generating significant public and diplomatic pressure on the Philippine government para mag-ensure na accountability. So itong interconnectedness na to, it established a shared expectation para sa mga states na mag-uphold ng human rights, while economic dependencies further compelled the government na mag-address ng mga concerns na to, and transforming the situation from a domestic issue into matter of international responsibility na kailangang i-address ng ICC. So that is for the introduction. Let us now move forward to the key problems that will be presenting by Ms. Katama.
So let's steer into the three key problems now we have determined. So first, we have human rights violation. In 2016, he ran for president, promising na he would bring law and order sa buong Pilipinas. Upon taking office, nag-start na po i-carry out yung war on drugs campaign niya, which is aimed daw po para i-address yung long-standing issues ng Philippines with drug abuse. Beginning po in the very first months of his presidency and over the following 2 years, ang kanyang government ay nag-launch ng series of police operations which basically targets the drug trade.
Yung sa TV, yung tumatakbo, sa CNN, pati BBC since yesterday, said that Duterte admits killing or shooting the criminals. Hindi sila nagkamali. Papatayin ko talaga magagawa. My campaign against drug will not stop until the end of my term. That would be 6 years from now. Until the last pusher and the last drug lord are
Given a free hand, yung mga law enforcement agencies, they went all out. Nagkakonduct po sila ng daily raids in Manila slums and throughout the country, killing thousands and packing the country's jails with suspects, many of whom po were from the poorest segments of the population, ayon sa claims ng critics. On top of that, karamihan din daw po, mostly yung mga victims are found in back alleys or street corners wrapped in packing tape, tapos yung bodies nila is either bullet-ridden or nagbe-bear ng stab wounds and other signs of torture. Despite this, the government denies having a policy na nag-endorse ng such killings, claiming na lahat ng deaths na nag-occur are during legitimate police operations. Ina-acknowledge naman na yung mga operations, it led to many casualties, pero they posits that yung mga cases na ganon, yung mga police officers, they were acting po in self-defense. Numerous testimonies suggest otherwise, with witnesses po alleging that many victims were shot in cold blood, while government data points to 6,117 drug dealers killed so far in Duterte's term. Independent estimates of the number of deaths range from 12,000 po to 30,000, including many minors. Critics, including international organizations like the UN, they also argue na yung deaths na nag-occur sa operation is under questionable circumstances and is lacking due process and accountability, creating an environment kung saan yung human rights violations ay na-overlooked or na-justify in the name of security. Which, by the way, leads us to our next problem, which is complementarity and domestic legal systems inadequacy.